Daniel Ruth. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Sheriff's Office, RUTH. I would like to introduce the Sheriff of Kenosha County, David Beth, BETH, along with a few others that may be speaking today. I don't believe anybody else will be here to speak. Sheriff Beth will have a prepared statement and will take questions. Sheriff Beth.
Dan usually looks a little bit perkier than that. He's a little under the weather today, but he still came in. Yesterday, it seems like we've been having a rash of major incidents here in Kenosha lately, and we're getting exhausted. Yesterday afternoon, there was a motorcycle. The way this started off was a motorcycle was left the roadway, and I can't tell you the exact location, went into the ditch. Some people saw it go into the ditch, and another vehicle picked up the driver of the motorcycle. And deputies responded, calls came in. They tracked the car that picked up the person that fell off the motorcycle. They tracked it back to an address in Paddock Lake. And that address, all I have is a 6100 block of 236th Avenue. They went to that location and confronted a woman in the house, and the deputies asked who was driving the motorcycle, and asked to speak to the husband. And after a loud discussion, deputies heard in the back of the house the husband came to the front door with a shotgun, and the deputies tried their best to take partial cover in the front yard, and they ordered the suspect to put the shotgun down several times. At one point, the suspect, who his name is Darren Myron Foodie. He was 47 years old. Mr. Foodie pointed the shotgun in the direction of two of the deputies standing near an evergreen tree. And at that point, one of our deputies fired multiple rounds, striking Mr. Foodie, and he fell to the ground. Our deputy sheriffs started doing CPR at that point. The shotgun had fell off to the side, and I think they actually kicked it at one point to get it further away. They started doing medical first aid to him, called rescue. Actually, Flight for Life was even set up to take Mr. Foodie up to Freighted if that was needed. Rescue came. They tried for a very long time to work on Mr. Foodie, and they took him to St. Catherine's Hospital, where at the hospital yesterday afternoon they pronounced Mr. Foodie dead. I did have a chance to go to the scene, both of the shooting. I spoke to the wife. I saw two of the three children. It was a very, very difficult situation. I gave Mrs. Foodie a hug, and I said, I'm really sorry that all this came out and worked like this. And I talked to the little girl sitting on the floor, a little fourth grader, and she was writing in a little pink notebook, little notes. And I went to the hospital, and I saw the parents and the brother. And I spoke to them a little bit later and let them know that Darren didn't make it. And I did my best, along with the doctor, to console the family members. And it was a difficult situation. And I know at that point they did not, at least one of the family members didn't even know that Darren had any type of weapon at all, even in the house. So, as customary with our department, we turn over any officer-involved shooting, and we don't have a lot. Our last officer-involved shooting was in 2007, and the last one before that was in 1972. So, but any serious situation where we have an accident with one of our squad cars or our deputies, we turn it over to another agency to do the investigation. We did that immediately. We called the Department of Criminal Investigation from the state of Wisconsin, and we had them take over the investigation part. We secured the scene. We did our best to protect the evidence that's out there, and but all the further investigation in this will be done by DCI. And The deputy sheriff that we have, he has not actually been interviewed yet by DCI yet, so I'm not releasing his name. I believe tomorrow we'll be releasing his name. He's a 4.5-year veteran of the sheriff's permit, and he has prior law enforcement experience in another agency in Illinois. He's a very good officer in our department. There were 3 deputies on the scene when this situation occurred. No deputies were injured in this. I'm ready for questions because I forgot where else I was going.
Where was this man shot and how many times?
I don't know where he was shot. I mean, I really don't know that. I know at least one shot was enough to be a critical shot. It was multiple times, and I don't know that. The DCI took over the investigation. When I was at the hospital with the family last night, DCI had arrived and they had started doing the gathering of evidence at the hospital itself. The medical examiner took Mr. Foodie sometime late last night. I'd already left by the time they had arrived, and I'm thinking autopsy is being done today.
Do you have any idea why he was pointing the shotgun at the deputy?
I'd love to know that answer. You know, when I spoke to the wife last night and I gave her a hug, and she made mention of me, she goes, I knew this was going to be bad when he took out a gun out of the house, and she didn't even know that he had a gun, as far as what I remember her saying last night.
Could you explain what that motorcycle crash had to do exactly with the situation?
That started the investigation into us going to the Foodie house.
Was there road rage involved?
No. It was a single motorcycle accident from everything I've been told. And obviously it wasn't too severe because he got up and got into another vehicle and went back home.
Was Mr. Foodie someone who was known to the department, or had you been to that location before for any previous calls?
Mr. Foodie has had a couple of contacts, and I actually asked that question before I came here. I think one charge was obstructing a few years ago, but nothing major. No weapons calls. This seemed to be from my conversation with parents last night after I told them that he passed away, that this was completely out of the normal for him.
As a sheriff, are you concerned about morale in your department based on the challenges that you've faced with overdone and then with the overtime budget being overage, just everyone working hard, and then now this?
No. Our department is a very close department. We're a larger department, but not too big that we lose sight of the needs of our people. And they may argue with that once in a while too. But we have the department chaplain on standby. We are going to do whatever it takes for our staff. I talked to them, the 3 deputies that were at the scene last night. I talked to them for a while and made sure that they were at least on outer appearance okay, and they all seem to be. But we're going to check on them. We're going to check on them regularly, really now for the next couple months. Everyone's tired. You bring up the Obregon thing, and everyone's tired. The people that are here up in front, I don't know that we've had much rest for about the last month, and this certainly didn't help anything. We were out till, my goodness, I think I was out till after midnight last night, and maybe we're getting used to it, I don't know. But I think you always have to be aware of situations that arise in your department. And one thing that law enforcement does, I don't care where you are, is you're expected to rise to whatever occasion gets thrown at you. And I think most law enforcement agencies do that extremely well. And I know that we do that extremely well. And we make mistakes once in a while, but we're a big, close family, and we'll do fine. We'll do fine.
Sheriff Beth, you appear to know this family. Is that the case? I mean,
I went into the house and I recognized the wife, but I really don't know why. I don't know if I've seen her at different functions. I know that one of her kids a senior in high school. One of the kids is a 4th grader. I think that's the one that tore my heart the most. And I don't know why. The foodie name, I do know. I actually think a friend of mine married maybe someone in the foodies. I don't know how I have a connection, but I did recognize the wife.
I mention that because you happen to know the Obregon family very well, especially. But so I just wondered, you know, what connection you had.
I taught the DARE program for 10 years, and I had about 10,000 DARE students. And when you grow up west of the interstate, one of the funny things is you seem to know a lot of people. Whether it be through family or friends or school or playing sports or your kids in different schools. And the deputies will always tell me, you know, someone will go, well, I know the sheriff, and the deputies will always tell me, west of the interstate, everyone tells me we know the sheriff, so that isn't anything uncommon. But I guess, I don't think of it too much, but I guess over the years I've got to meet a lot of people, and it becomes stressful. We had the Robin Lydell issue a few years ago, and Robin Lydell and the person that killed him were part of that group. John Navigado were both in my class, sat next to him growing up. So yeah, a lot of the major situations out west of the interstate, it seems like I have some connection to.
You mentioned that a 4th grader and a senior in high school. Were there other children, and were they all home at the time?
I saw 2. I believe that there's one more child that's a little bit older.
Okay.
21 rings a bell, but I don't know that to be right on.
Right. So the other 2 children were in the home at the time?
I'm going to believe that to be true.
Sheriff, was the suspect shotgun loaded?
I don't have that answer. I know DCI came and they processed the scene. We tried our best at that point to not touch anything. I'm sure that'll come out in their investigation. I did see the shotgun laying nearby where I'm going to assume that Mr. Foodie fell off what the porch was. So I know that it exists. I saw it laying there in the grass, but I don't know. DCI, I'm sure, took it, and at some point they're going to answer that question, was it loaded or not, but I don't know that answer.
How far away were the deputies from the suspect at the time they took him down?
I spoke to a couple of the deputies involved, and they pointed to an evergreen tree that they were kind of standing by or near, and there's no way in heck that would have ever given them any kind of protection. But
Was it?
It was probably, you know, within 30 feet or so.
So those deputies heard yelling or something? What caused them to retreat back from the door?
They saw the shotgun. What I was told last night is the deputies heard the man get into some verbal discussion with the wife in the back of the house, and then at that point he came out with the shotgun.
You mentioned the fatigue of a lot of people in your department due to the overdone situation and things. Was this deputy that shot the guy, I mean, was he involved in that case? And could he have been fatigued and had not made the wrong judgment here?
Yeah. From everything that I've seen so far, after speaking to people, this isn't a situation that I would like to happen to anybody. But it appears to me that when a person comes to the door and points a shotgun at you, that you have justification to protect yourself or other people there. And it's truly just, I've not read any reports. I've not, other than the basics, what I've actually described to you today, I've not seen or talked to anyone else in detail. But our entire department was looking for Obregon, and that he was captured. Oh, gosh, it doesn't seem like it, but it was almost 2 weeks ago. So I'm sure he's had plenty of sleep since then, and it had nothing to do with fatigue, other than, unfortunately, a gentleman came to the door and pointed a shotgun at him.
Is the thought that this man who was shot, was he drunk at the time?
I don't have that answer. I don't know. in the ditch. I don't know what ditch though. He left it there, yeah.
But it occurred in Paddock Lake, the accident?
I don't know.
Sure, if I know that.
Oh, okay.
The motorcycle crash occurred on 31st Street west of Highway 75. That investigation culminated with the deputies having the vehicle towed. And we were investigating essentially a hit and run accident.
By hit and run, you mean that he crashed into something?
Left
or
the scene.
someone hit
Correct.
him?
It was a single vehicle motorcycle accident. It's just a generic title we have for a motorcycle crash where the drivers, crash where the drivers in there.
And so in the course of trying to figure out who was on the motorcycle and someone told you that someone picked him up, that's how you said you got to the other address?
What I was told last night is somebody saw a person get into another vehicle. And the motorcycle, I believe it was Mr. Foodie's motorcycle. So that's how we got to the Foodie residence.
Was this person who passed away, was he speaking yesterday when you or any of your deputies were at the hospital?
He had passed away by the time I got to the hospital. I did talk to one of the deputies who was there, and he was, one of the deputies giving first aid, he was speaking to him.
Can you tell us what he said?
He said he was getting cold.
Now, in regards to the firearm, was it, do you know offhand if it was like legally obtained or anything of that nature?
I don't know that.
Okay.
Is he known to be a hunter?
I don't know him that well.
So an autopsy will be done and you'll figure out if he was intoxicated?
Yeah. Well, that'll be done. I'm sure that it's probably in the process right now. I was told it was going to be done this morning.
That information is going to be released tomorrow then, do you anticipate that?
I don't know that. The medical examiner's office, they're going to be working directly with DCI right now because, and I'm not, unless something else major occurs, all the information that will be passed along further will be through DCI. And the deputy sheriff, after DCI talks to him, then we'll be releasing his name to all of you too. We didn't want to release it until they'd actually had done the interview.
And in previous law enforcement encounters with this man, do you know what those were about? I mean,
the only one that I can remember, you remember, it was obstructing and something else.
There were a couple of warrant arrests several years, 5-6 years ago.
Like for traffic or something? Or?
Yeah, I don't, we didn't look
so
at
it was nothing major.
So have you interviewed, has DCI interviewed the deputy already, or is this going to take place tomorrow?
I don't have that answer. I know that they have to discuss this with him and do the interview, and it has not occurred yet. So until that happens, and that's truly the only reason that we're not giving you the name of it, because they've not interviewed him yet. They were kind of busy with everything else, the scene and the body and everything else last night.
In the meantime, will that officer be on as duty?
Thank you for bringing that up. That officer is on administrative leave. That officer is on administrative leave, and he actually all three deputies that were at the scene last night are off today, and we're going to be monitoring the situation, their condition, to make sure that they're responding appropriately and handling this okay. Many years ago, I'm trying to think what it was now, 1997, I had a shooting. I shot a suspect from a bank robbery, and I remember going through that situation. And it wasn't the day of the situation that hit me. It seemed like, I go back to it, it all seemed like a video recording. And it was I could turn it on now and watch a movie of this whole thing happening. And it doesn't seem like it was real. It actually took a day or two for it to kind of sink in what had happened. And then at that point, everybody asked me, how do you think these things affect you? I'm going, I don't know. I don't know if I'd be different today if I wouldn't have done that or had this career, but I'm sure I would. But how it affected me, I can't tell you. So we're just going to monitor them and see if they need help and check them.
Those three you said all three are off, but it's just the one deputy who fired his weapon who's on administrative leave. The others will be back to work.
Yes.
Okay.
Has this deputy ever been involved in this kind of shooting before, or this is the first in his career?
As far as I know, this is his first on this department since he's been here 4.5 years, and our last shooting was 8 years ago. So in Illinois, I don't remember him ever being involved in a shooting down there either.
And is the deputy that you're familiar with, and you work with him, are you close to this deputy, or?
I like to feel I'm close to all my deputies.
Do you feel this was an intentional suicide?
All night long, I had a hard time sleeping last night, and I wonder that too. I wonder if there was more to this situation that we aren't aware of. I don't know that to be true. I don't know why this gentleman brought a shotgun out of the house. It's even by his family's own accords. This is not him. This is not this. They didn't expect this, and why? This was purely over a traffic citation. So why would you go to this level? It seems strange to me, but I have no evidence saying it is or isn't. I was wondering the exact same thing last night.
Did any of these deputies have CIT training?
I don't know.
It's possible.
I don't know.
Did the family feel like they were in danger prior to the deputies arriving?
The short conversation I had with the entire family, no one said anything. The wife just said he's a good father.
Were the children, you said they were there, were they aware of what was taking place, or had they been huddled somewhere, or no?
When I went into the house, the mother and the 4th grade girl were sitting in the kitchen, and the 18-year-old came in out of another room. I don't know if it was a bedroom or what, but came into the kitchen.
This was after?
Afterwards.
Okay, but during, you don't know?
I don't know where they all were.
Saw any of this taking?
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Same time next week.